Hi, I'm Dr. Mila Brujic, and today I'm with Dr. Louise Sclafani on the Optometric Insight Show.
Hi, everybody.
So, Dr. Louise Sclafani, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. I don't know if you remember this, but early on in my career, you came to the East West Eye conference in Cleveland. You lectured, and you actually gave arguably one of the best courses I ever saw, even after that, on cornea complications, and corneal conditions. And it was really the impetus for me to realize that optometry just has the ability to own the anterior segment and treat it. Where a lot of things in optometry, require a certain level of ophthalmological surgical care. This gave us the ability to really kind of own everything, and you did that at a level that I've never seen before. So that was kind of really my first stepping stone into really starting my passion for anterior segment disease. And I know that that's the passion for you. What kind of got you into anterior segment disease and advanced contact lenses and everything that you're kind of known for, Louise?
Well, Mila, first of all, I remember that lecture because I remember you were taking notes and asking questions. Nah,
I
I wish
was.
I did, but that really means a lot to me because to be really the main thing that we should always do is influence others to try to, perpetuate what our passions are or just to become better. And I've had lots of different mentors through my life. And, like you, as you mentioned, the anterior segment, especially the cornea, we own it. Optometry owns it. And we're very lucky because we could treat it and we could prevent our patients from having to need surgery, and we can take care of them around surgery, and we can do lots of minor procedures. So, we really do own the cornea and lids and anterior segment. The thing that really made me realize that, the cornea and contact lenses was for me was when I was in high school. I was working at Sears, and this lady had, there was a trauma, broken glass on the floor, and she got a piece of glass in her eye. And I realized that it was really easy for me to get it out. I didn't realize how stupid it was because I could have lacerated or ruptured her globe, but I just realized that it was really easy for me to touch somebody's eye. You ask me to touch someone's foot, forget it. Okay, I mean that creeps me out, and I really didn't want to deal with naked people I didn't know, so that's why med school went down the drain. But we always, cornea is the first thing that we pretty much encounter when we're taking care of patients, and I just love it.
Yep, I agree. And you've had kind of an interesting history, Louise. Like I still even remember too, so when I think about female leadership, and particularly early on, I remember seeing you and Chris Sint always there, and you always seem to be battling and debating contact lenses and cornea. And what stuck out in my mind was at the time, you're talking 18, 19 years ago, you were talking about a platform where it was really, from an outsider's perspective looking in, it was really owned a lot by, male leadership. And you two you presented a different perspective, everything. And I think over the last, 10, 15 years, you guys have just really perpetuated leadership, and you've always been these awesome role models. Like I see you guys both at GSLS with younger practitioners, and I just see how important it is for, in particular, young female optometrists to have mentors and leaders like you. How important do you think it is, and what role have you actively played? And has anybody ever kind of even come up to you, Louise, after and said, like the story that I just gave you, like, this is why I started doing X, Y, Z?
Well, you're being very kind, Mila, because Chris is actually almost a generation younger than me. I graduated in 1989, and yeah, you're right. There weren't a lot of female role models. In fact, when I had my first interview at University of Chicago, I had a female ophthalmologist say to me, "Why aren't you at home having babies instead of seeing patients?" And at that point, I was like, "This is not where I'm going. I mean, this is not my path. My path is to do both." And so I was very fortunate because I was single and I had the ability to really perpetuate my career, and was in an educational institution, University of Chicago, for so long, where they allowed me to have that freedom to do so. And I remember going to academy meetings And I saw a lot of role models there, one of which was Loretta Shotka,
Yeah.
Christina
Great.
Snyder, and others. And I said, I want to be like them. I want to
Yeah.
be the role model. And I like to surround myself with smart people. And it happens to be that most women are the smart people these days. Gotcha. But and I think though that I had that opportunity. I was at the right place at the right time. And I think people were looking for women to, kind of step up and break that barrier, that good old boys club, and stand up. And so I was very fortunate that I had that opportunity. And I was the second chair, female chair of the cornea and contact lens section of the AOA. Charlotte
It's great.
Chalk was the first. But as I was on the board, there, my great colleagues and friends, but were all men, who I was very comfortable with expressing opinions. They said, "You know any other girls?" And I had met Chris on the road traveling, and so I said, "We got to bring Chris Simpton." And then my one of my best friends is Pam Lowe. You probably know Pam, and she is the epitome of a leader and a woman. And I think that these days there are a lot more women who are more active in contact lenses. The Scleral Lens Society, founded by Melissa Barnett and others, that's all women and growing, and it's wonderful to see them. So I love being around them. I love being around just smart people in general, and people who are lively and who can exchange ideas. And so,
Yeah. Leadership in general, Louise, to be very blunt with you, like you guys have always, I think the coolest thing about you guys is you've always, anybody who's had clinical curiosity, who's had interesting ideas, you guys have always just really welcomed them. And I think that's one of the coolest things about, I always refer to you and Chris Sint because the two of you really just seem to kind of always give me a chance when everybody else kind of seemed to brush me off. And I'll truly never forget that. There's a handful of kind of close-knit people that really just always, regardless of whether or not you thought my questions were intelligent or not, you always at least entertain them. So I always respected you and appreciated you for that. And the way that you just kind of handled yourself was always awesome. But saying that too, like I want, so you're talking to optometrists here, our colleagues, and you've had such a unique career path. Like, so you started in kind of a university hospital setting, you transitioned to a private practice, and now you're actually working with SynergEyes, and you're working professional relations with SynergEyes, and that kind of transition is really interesting. I personally, I think it makes you more powerful because you have that clinical experience. But share with like the audience how something like that even happens and what the steps to make that happen. Like what occurs to make that happen?
Well, I've always had the opinion that your first job is never going to be your last, and I tell that to my interns all the time. I've been training interns at ICO my entire career, and so when I do see them along the way and say, "Hey, you influenced me," that makes me feel good. But I always remember that. And my first job was actually in a private practice for a couple of years before I joined University of Chicago, and I was the first and only optometrist who ever had an academic appointment there for 24 years. I had a wonderful chair who saw the ability for optometry and ophthalmology,
That's
and that
awesome.
piqued my interest in
That's
cornea
great.
because they really wanted me to own it. And but things change, and things evolve, and I think I was just totally always being prepared for this next phase of my life. And the next phase of my life included being part of working with industry, and just like you work with industry. We've been key advocates for companies, and I've always been intrigued by that side. I've liked being part of the technology. I think it's
Yeah.
important for doctors
Yeah.
to influence what they're coming up with research and development. Marketing is just really fun and exciting, but to be able to discuss things with my peers and come up with new lenses that are going to change patients' lives is what it's really cool. And now I'm right back. There where at the groundwork of where we can do it. And the other thing is, I am in private practice. I joined. This is like the funnest thing is that when I left University of Chicago, I needed a place for my patients to go. I did not want to desert them, and I still wanted to be part of patient care.
Yep.
Some of that is at the Illinois College of Optometry, but I joined a practice, SoLo Eyecare, the South Loop. And the irony of it is that my boss was one of my interns 15 years ago,
That's
Dr. Bob
great.
Steinmetz. And my new boss, the new managing partner, was my intern last year, Greg Pappas. So that is like really weird. So I always say, be kind to people. What comes around goes around. You never know. And just to be around these young doctors, Dr. Bell, Kasha, Dr. Elena, it's just really fun. We have a really good time, and they're keeping me young, and we're having a great time.
So I think the takeaway there is make sure you're always treating everybody with respect
Yes,
because you never know how things are going to come around.
never know. You never know.
Louise,
So
you have a unique way and manner of giving us some really great lessons and packaging it with humor, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you being on the show here today. Thank you all for joining us on this episode of the Optometric Insight Show, and make sure to follow our podcast as well.
thanks for having me. This is really fun.
Thanks,
Always good to
Louise.
be with you. Hopefully,
Thanks,
we'll see
Louise.
you in person soon.
We will.